Today we're going to be talking about sine, cosine, and tangent, which are part of trigonometry. So I'm going to be talking about what these are and how they work, which is pretty simple yet very important to remember. And then I'm going to give you an example of how you might use it. So how does it work? Well, you use sine, cosine, and tangent in right angle triangles to help you find other angles or sides. Usually, to use these functions, you would have to look on your calculator for the abbreviated versions. For sine, it's going to be SIN. For cosine, it's going to be COS. And for tangent, it's going to be TAN. So how this works is going to follow this formula, which is one of these three functions followed by the degree of the angle equals a length of a triangle divided by another length of a triangle. So how do you know all of this? Well, firstly, the degree is going to be used based on which angle you want to base this entire equation off of. For example, let's say in this diagram, you would base hypotenuse, the opposite and adjacent, based on this angle, based on theta. So therefore, whatever degree theta is going to go here. So how are A and B going to be determined? Well, they're going to be determined by something many people call SOHCAHTOA. So as I said before, these are going to use the hypotenuse sides, the opposite sides, and adjacent sides relative to the angle. So for sine, because it's going to be SOH, you can remember it as sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. For CAH, you're going to use cos, which is going to be followed by adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse side. And for TOA, you can remember it by using tan and then using the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. So just to make this a bit clearer, what do I mean by opposite? How can you find an opposite side? So as I said before, you can see this angle. The opposite side to this angle is going to be this side. And then the adjacent side is going to be this one. However, it can't be this one because the hypotenuse is going to be the same no matter what angle it is, since it's going to just be the longest side. However, let's say we're going to use this angle instead of this one, and we can't use this right angle here. But let's say if we use this angle, then this side is going to become the opposite, and this side is going to become the adjacent side. So let's see this in action. We're going to use this triangle here, and then we would have the problem to solve the triangle. This means we would have to find the value of A, B, and although much more simpler, this capitalized B, which is to represent this angle. So how do you find A? Well, we would first have to use trigonometry, which depends on an angle. And since the only angle we have other than this 90 degrees is going to be this 30 degrees, we would have to base it off of this. So what is A in relation to 30? Well, A is going to be opposite of 30. So you know that this is the opposite side. And however, since there are two functions, which is sine and tan, that use the opposite side, which is sine equals opposite divided by hypotenuse, as well as tan, which is tan equals opposite divided by adjacent. We don't know the adjacent side, which is B. So therefore, we would have to rely on the other side that we do know, which is hypotenuse. So therefore, we're going to use the sine function. So we're going to write sine 30 degrees equals opposite divided by hypotenuse, which is a divided by 5. And then if you just move 5 to the other side, you can just enter this into your keypad, into your calculator, and then you would find that a equals 2.5. Now that we want to find b, as I said before, you would have to find this side because this side is adjacent to 30. So therefore, it's very similar to how we did it before, because the only side we have is the hypotenuse, and we want to find the adjacent side. We would have to use cos 30 equals adjacent divided by hypotenuse. The reason we wouldn't use sine is because although everything is the same, this one uses the opposite side instead of the adjacent side. So it's going to be cos 30 equals adjacent divided by hypotenuse, which is b, the adjacent, divided by 5, which is the hypotenuse. And then you would just do the same thing where you move 5 to the other side and you would input it into your calculator. And although this isn't as nice of a number as 2.5, b would equal about 4.33. And then lastly, if you just want to find the angle b, you already have 2 out of the 3 angles inside of a triangle. And since you know that all 3 angles inside of a triangle make up 180, you can just do 180 minus 30 minus 90, and you find that b equals 60 degrees. And that just summarizes how to use sine, cos, and tan in equations to help you find sides and angles of triangles, right angle triangles.